Summary of 59 Seconds by Richard Wiseman. Change your life in under a minute. Introduction. The introduction begins by exploring the appeal and the potential harm of self-help techniques. Many people seek self-help because they offer quick and easy solutions to their problems, but these solutions may not be scientifically sound. If they fail, people may believe they lack control over their lives and experience a decrease in happiness and well-being. This can even have an impact on one's lifespan, as evidenced by a study of nursing home residents. Those who were given a houseplant but not allowed to take care of it were less happy, healthy, and active, and more likely to die within 6 months than those who were allowed to care for the plant. The author then describes having lunch with a friend named Sophie. Sophie, a successful management consultant in her 30s, was curious about the author's thoughts on the self-help industry, especially after purchasing a popular book about happiness. She was concerned when the author expressed reservations about the scientific backing for some of the techniques promoted by the self-help industry. When the author began to describe complex, time-consuming academic work in happiness, Sophie stopped him and asked for some effective advice that didn't take as much time to implement. Intrigued by Sophie's desire for quick, effective self-improvement, the author began to investigate if there were research-backed techniques that were empirically supported but could be carried out quickly. The author ultimately discovered that researchers in many different fields of psychology had developed quick and easy techniques that could help people achieve their goals in minutes, not months. This book compiles those techniques, which span a wide range of behavioral sciences. In the book, topics include happiness, persuasion, motivation, creativity, attraction, relationships. Chapter 1: Happiness. You know how everyone's always chasing happiness? It's like this mythical beast we all want to capture. Well, the happiness section in 59 Seconds dives deep into what actually brings us joy, and guess what? It's not what most people think. First, let's debunk the myth that money buys happiness. The book highlights a fascinating study where they interviewed lottery winners and compared their happiness levels to a control group. Surprisingly, the lottery winners were no happier than the average person. Turns out, we quickly adapt to our new circumstances, whether it's a bigger house or a fatter bank account. Yesterday's luxury becomes today's necessity, and the thrill fades away. So, if money doesn't buy happiness, what does? Well, the book says about 50% of our happiness is genetically determined, bummer. And another 10% is due to life circumstances that are hard to change, like our education or income. But here's the good news: the remaining 40% is within our control. It's all about how we think and behave in our daily lives. One of the biggest misconceptions is the power of positive thinking. Turns out, trying to suppress negative thoughts can actually make us more miserable. Think of it like trying not to think about a pink elephant. The more you try to push it out of your mind, the more it pops up. Same goes for negative thoughts. So, how do we cultivate lasting happiness? The book suggests a few research-backed techniques. Keep a gratitude journal. Spend a few minutes each week writing down things you're grateful for. This simple act can significantly boost your happiness, optimism, and even physical health. It's like taking a mental snapshot of all the good things in your life and focusing on them. Connect with your inner perfect self. Take some time to imagine your ideal future. Visualize yourself achieving your goals and living your best life. This exercise can help you feel happier and more motivated. It's like daydreaming with a purpose. Engage in affectionate writing. Write a heartfelt letter to someone you love, expressing your appreciation for them. This can increase your happiness, reduce stress, and even lower your cholesterol. Who knew putting your feelings on paper could be so good for you? Smile, even if you don't feel like it. It sounds cheesy, but forcing yourself to smile can actually trick your brain into feeling happier. Hold the smile for at least 15 seconds and imagine something that makes you genuinely happy. Think of it as a mini mood makeover. Help others. It's true what they say, giving is better than receiving. Even small acts of kindness can have a big impact on your happiness. Donate to charity, volunteer your time, or just do something nice for a friend or family member. You'll be surprised at how good it makes you feel. The book emphasizes that happiness isn't a destination, it's a journey. It takes effort and intention, but it's worth it. By incorporating these simple techniques into your daily life, you can boost your happiness levels and create a more fulfilling life. Chapter 2: Persuasion. Remember when we were talking about happiness and how we tend to adapt to even major life changes like winning the lottery? Well, guess what? That same principle of adaptation applies to persuasion too. The persuasion section in 59 seconds is all about how we can be easily swayed by subtle cues and techniques, often without even realizing it. One of the biggest myths in persuasion is the idea that big rewards lead to better results. Think about it. We often assume that offering a huge bonus will motivate employees to perform better, right? But research actually shows the opposite. Turns out, excessive rewards can actually decrease motivation and performance, especially for tasks people already enjoy. It makes people think they're only doing it for the money, not because they actually care. So, what does work? The book suggests a few unexpected tactics. The Franklin effect. Remember Benjamin Franklin, the guy on the $100 bill? Well, he had this clever trick for winning people over. He'd ask them for a small favor. This might sound counterintuitive, but it actually makes people like you more. They think, hey, I did something nice for this person, so they must be pretty cool. The pratfall effect. We all strive to appear competent and successful, but sometimes, showing a bit of vulnerability can actually make us more likable. Think of it like this: if you seem too perfect, people might find you intimidating or unapproachable. But if you trip up every now and then, it shows you're human, just like everyone else. Of course, this only works if you're generally seen as competent. Don't go around intentionally making a fool of yourself. Gossip. We all love a good gossip session, but be careful what you say. Studies show that when you gossip about someone, listeners unconsciously associate you with the traits you're describing. So, if you're constantly bad-mouthing others, people will start to see you as negative and untrustworthy. On the other hand, if you say positive things about people, you'll be perceived as kind and likable. It's like a karma boomerang for your words. The book also highlights some clever techniques that salespeople and marketers often use. The foot in the door technique. This is all about starting small and gradually increasing your requests. For example, a salesperson might first ask you to try a free sample, then offer you a small discount, and finally try to upsell you to a larger package. By getting you to agree to small requests first, they make it more likely you'll say yes to bigger ones later. The door in the face technique. This one is the opposite of the foot in the door. It involves starting with an outrageously large request that you're almost certain to reject, then following up with a smaller, more reasonable request. Because you just turned down something huge, the smaller request seems much more appealing in comparison. So, next time you're trying to persuade someone, remember these key takeaways. Ditch the big rewards and focus on genuine connection. Small, unexpected gifts or compliments can be more effective than lavish incentives. Don't be afraid to show your human side. A little vulnerability can go a long way in making you more likable. Be mindful of the power of gossip. Your words can have a surprising impact on how people perceive you. Watch out for sneaky persuasion tactics. Be aware of the foot in the door and door in the face techniques so you don't get tricked into agreeing to something you don't want. Persuasion is a powerful tool, but it's important to use it ethically and with awareness. Chapter 3: Motivation. Sure, let's talk about motivation like we're friends chatting. You know how sometimes you get so pumped about a goal, like getting fit or learning something new? You picture yourself all toned and strong or wowing everyone with your knowledge. But then, poof, the motivation vanishes, and you're back to square one. Well, turns out, just visualizing your success isn't enough. In fact, it might even backfire. This one study followed obese women in a weight loss program. The ones who daydreamed about resisting pizza and ice cream actually lost less weight than those who imagined giving in to temptation. Weird, right? Researchers think those happy daydreams make us unprepared for real-life setbacks. It's like we trick our brains into thinking we've already achieved the goal, so why bother with the hard work? But don't worry, there are proven ways to stay motivated. The key is to have a solid plan, not just a fantasy. Think of it like climbing Mount Everest. You wouldn't just wander around hoping to reach the summit. You need a route, supplies, and a step-by-step plan. Break down your big goal into smaller, manageable steps. Write them down, making sure each step is concrete and has a deadline. Like, this week, I'll update my resume, and in 2 weeks, I'll apply for one new job. And tell everyone about your goals. Friends and family can provide support and keep you accountable. Plus, research shows that going public makes us more likely to stick to our commitments. Instead of dwelling on what might go wrong, focus on the positive benefits of reaching your goal. How will your life be better? What awesome rewards will you give yourself along the way? Remember, it's a journey, not a sprint. Celebrate those small wins and reward yourself for each step forward. This keeps the motivation flowing and makes the whole process more enjoyable. So, ditch those empty daydreams and get yourself a plan, a support system, and a stash of rewards. You've got this. Chapter 4: Creativity. Hey, want to chat about creativity? It's kind of crazy how many myths there are around it. Like, remember brainstorming? Turns out it's not all it's cracked up to be. For decades, companies have been putting people in rooms to spout out ideas, thinking it boosts creativity. But research shows it actually does the opposite. It's like that social loafing thing. When people are in groups, they tend to slack off a bit. If no one is directly responsible, everyone assumes someone else will come up with the brilliant ideas. So, instead of pushing ourselves, we end up with fewer and less original thoughts. But here's the exciting part: there are actually some quick and easy ways to unlock your inner Leonardo da Vinci. And they're pretty unexpected, too. First, take a break from all the conscious thinking and let your unconscious mind do the work. One study had people try to come up with new names for pasta. The group who got distracted by a challenging computer task came up with way more creative names than those who focused solely on the pasta problem. It's like our unconscious mind needs a little space to breathe and make those wild connections. So next time you're stuck, try doing a word search or a Sudoku to give your conscious mind a break. Second, get those creative juices flowing by looking at art. This study showed that people who sat in front of a slightly unconventional art print, think a single yellow cross among a bunch of green ones, were far more creative in a problem-solving task than those who saw a more conventional print. It's called priming, and it's like our brains are unconsciously absorbing those unconventional vibes and applying them to the task at hand. Third, pay attention to your body language. Remember how we talked about visualization for motivation? Well, turns out it works for creativity too, but with a twist. Instead of picturing the end goal, visualize the process of getting there. And get physical. Try leaning forward, crossing your arms, or even lying down to help shift your thinking. Finally, don't forget the power of small things. Even something as simple as thinking about a typical punk can make you more creative. It's all about those subtle cues that our brains pick up on and use to shape our thinking. So, ditch those brainstorming sessions and embrace the power of distraction, art, body language, and even the occasional punk thought. You'll be surprised at what your creative mind can come up with. Chapter 5: Attraction. Hey, you know how dating advice can be a wild mix of truth and myth? Let's dish about some attraction secrets, backed by science. Remember how we talked about the power of touch for persuasion? Well, guess what? It works for attraction too. But it's gotta be subtle. A light, fleeting touch on the upper arm while giving a compliment can boost your chances. Too much, though, and you'll be in creep territory. Boundaries, my friend, boundaries. Now, let's talk about that age-old advice: play hard to get. Socrates and Ovid were all about it, telling women to hold back and make men work for their affection. Sounds kinda manipulative, right? And guess what? Research debunked it. Turns out, being genuinely enthusiastic and showing interest works way better than playing games. People are drawn to those who are open and genuinely into them. Of course, you don't want to come across as desperate either. The sweet spot is conveying that you're generally selective but specifically excited about them. It's all about that your special vibe. Winking face. And hey, remember those roller coaster experiments? Our hearts race when we're scared or excited, and our brains can get confused about the source of that adrenaline rush. So, a thrilling first date at a theme park or watching a suspense film might just make them associate those butterflies with you. Clever, huh? But attraction isn't just about thrills and looks. Deep conversations can also spark a connection. One study had strangers ask each other increasingly personal questions, and it created a sense of intimacy even faster than regular chit-chat. So, don't be afraid to share a little bit of yourself and ask those meaningful questions. It shows vulnerability and helps build trust. Here are some more quick tips. Women find men more attractive when they see other women showing interest. So, if you're a guy, bring a charming female friend to a social gathering and let her laugh at your jokes. Just make sure she's cool with being your wing woman. Evolutionary psychology suggests that hungry men prefer larger women. It's a subconscious thing, linking size with abundance. So, ladies, if you're into a guy, try meeting for drinks * before dinner. Don't go overboard with the compliments. People are actually more drawn to those who start off a bit reserved and then warm up over time. It creates a sense of intrigue and makes your approval feel more earned. Bonding over shared dislikes can be even more powerful than gushing over things you both love. It's called interpersonal chemistry through negativity, and it creates a sense of solidarity. Remember, attraction is a complex dance, but these science-backed tips can help you put your best foot forward. Good luck out there. Chapter 6 Relationships. Okay, let's chat about relationships. You know how everyone's always pushing active listening as the secret to a happy partnership? Like, you're supposed to paraphrase your partner's feelings and really * feel their emotions. It sounds good in theory, but turns out it might not be all that helpful. Some researchers think focusing too much on those negative emotions can actually make things worse. It's like constantly poking at a wound, it just keeps it fresh and painful. Instead, try focusing on the positive aspects of your relationship. Think about what makes your partner special, those little quirks you find endearing, even if they drive you crazy sometimes. Remember how we talked about the power of writing for processing emotions and boosting happiness? Well, it works wonders for relationships too. This study had one person and a new couple write about their feelings for their partner for just 20 minutes a day for 3 days. Months later, those couples were much more likely to still be together than those who just wrote about their day. It's like putting those positive vibes out into the universe and strengthening the bond. And here's a cool trick: thinking about your relationship as being surrounded by smaller circles can actually make you feel more connected. It's a visual metaphor that helps you see your partnership as part of a larger, supportive network. Kind of like those friendship bracelets we used to make, with all those interconnected threads. Words can be incredibly powerful in relationships. One study found that couples who used the word but when talking about their partner's flaws were more likely to stay together. It's like acknowledging the imperfection but also highlighting the redeeming qualities. So, instead of "he's messy," try "he's messy, but he always makes me laugh with his crazy cleaning attempts." See the difference? Here are some more relationship-boosting tips. Do something new and exciting together. Shared experiences, especially those that get your heart racing, can strengthen your bond. Think theme park adventures or trying a new sport. Focus on the good times and write them down. This diary exercise from the source material suggests dedicating 1 day to reminiscing about a wonderful experience you've shared. It's a great way to relive those happy memories and appreciate all the good stuff you have together. Don't underestimate the power of a single photo. Placing a picture of you and your partner in a prominent place can serve as a visual reminder of your connection and boost feelings of love. Remember, relationships take work, but these science-backed insights can help you build a stronger, happier partnership. Chapter 7 Stress. Hey, you know how stress is like that annoying friend who just won't leave you alone? It's everywhere these days. But guess what? That whole vent your anger thing, like punching a pillow or screaming into the void, turns out, it doesn't actually work. In fact, it can make you feel more stressed. This one study had people who were already annoyed write a really bad essay. Half of them got to take out their frustration on a punching bag. You'd think they'd feel better, right? Nope. They actually ended up feeling angrier and more aggressive than those who just chilled out for a few minutes. So, what can you do to kick stress to the curb? Well, there's this cool technique called benefit finding, and it's all about shifting your perspective. Instead of dwelling on the negative, try to find the good that came out of a stressful experience. It sounds kinda counterintuitive, but it really works. Think about a time when something bad happened, like losing your job. It might have been super stressful at the time, but maybe it forced you to reevaluate your career path and find something you're truly passionate about. Or maybe it gave you more time to spend with loved ones. By focusing on the positive outcomes, you can actually reframe the whole experience and reduce the negative impact it has on you. It's like turning a lemon into lemonade, but for your mental health. Here are some more quick stress-busting tips from the source material. Laugh it off. Laughter is seriously like medicine. People who use humor to cope with stress have stronger immune systems, are less likely to have heart attacks, and even live longer. So, put on your favorite comedy or hang out with that friend who always cracks you up. Get a furry friend. Pets are awesome stress relievers. Just petting a dog can lower your blood pressure and make you feel calmer. Plus, they're always happy to see you, and who can resist those puppy dog eyes? Give someone a hand. Remember how we talked about acts of kindness boosting happiness? Well, they also help reduce stress. So, volunteer your time, donate to a good cause, or just do something nice for a friend. It'll make you feel good and help someone else out. Remember, stress is a part of life, but you don't have to let it rule you. Try these science-backed tips to manage your stress and live a happier, healthier life. You got this. Chapter 8: Decision-Making. Alright, let's talk about decision-making. You know how we always think that more heads are better when it comes to making tough choices? Like, getting a bunch of people together to brainstorm and weigh in? Well, turns out that's not always the case. In fact, groups can make some pretty irrational decisions. Exploding head. There's this thing called group polarization, where being in a group actually pushes people to make more extreme decisions than they would on their own. Think of it like this: you've got a group of friends who are all kinda into spicy food. Individually, they might order medium salsa. But together, they're all egging each other on, and next thing you know, they're all sweating and crying over a bowl of ghost pepper salsa. Hot pepper fire. It's not just about risk, either. Groups can swing towards extreme caution or extreme risk, depending on the initial leanings of the group. And it's not just about food choices, it happens with all sorts of decisions, from racial biases to investment strategies. So, why do groups go off the rails like this? Well, when you're surrounded by people who agree with you, it reinforces your existing beliefs. You hear new arguments that support your viewpoint, and you might even voice opinions that you were hesitant to share before. It's like a feedback loop of confirmation bias. Groupthink is another danger. It's that whole going along with the crowd thing, even when you know it's not the best idea. Groups can get so caught up in their own little bubble that they miss crucial information or fail to consider alternative perspectives. Okay, so groups can be a recipe for disaster. But what's the best way to make good decisions on your own? The research suggests that sometimes, it's better to not overthink it. You know that feeling when you're wrestling with a tough choice, and your brain just gets fried? Well, it turns out that distracting your conscious mind can actually lead to better decisions. This study had people make complex choices, like picking an apartment or a car. One group was allowed to think it over carefully. Another group was distracted with puzzles. Guess who made the best choices? Yep, the puzzle group. It sounds crazy, but the researchers believe that our unconscious minds are better at handling complex information. When we consciously overthink, we tend to focus on the most obvious details and miss the bigger picture. but when we let our unconscious minds work in the background, they can process all the information and come up with a more balanced decision. So, the next time you've got a big decision to make, try this. Gather all the information you need. Then, distract yourself with something engaging, like a puzzle or a challenging game. Let your unconscious mind do the work, and after a while, revisit the decision. You might be surprised at how much clearer things become. Chapter 9 Parenting. Hey, remember all that hype about praising kids to boost their self-esteem? Like, showering them with compliments about how smart and talented they are? Well, hold on to your hats, because the research suggests it might be doing more harm than good. Exploding head. It turns out that praising kids for their abilities can actually backfire. It can make them afraid to try new things because they're so worried about failing and losing that smart label. They become risk-averse and might even give up easily when things get tough. It's like they're living in a fragile bubble of praise, and any little setback threatens to pop it. This study with the puzzle-solving kids illustrates it perfectly. The kids who were told they were intelligent were more likely to pick the easy tasks because they didn't want to risk failing. On the other hand, the kids who were praised for their asterisk effort were more likely to embrace challenges and persist even when things got difficult. So, what's the takeaway here? Instead of praising kids for their asterisk abilities, "You're so smart," focus on praising their asterisk effort and the asterisk process. "You worked really hard on that," or "I'm impressed with how you kept trying even when it got frustrating." This type of praise encourages a growth mindset, where kids see challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, rather than threats to their self-worth. They become more resilient, persistent, and motivated to learn. Here are some other parenting insights from the source material. The marshmallow test. This classic experiment highlights the importance of delayed gratification. Kids who can resist the temptation of an immediate reward, 1 marshmallow now, in favor of a larger reward later, 2 marshmallows later, tend to have better outcomes in life. It's a measure of self-control and the ability to delay gratification, skills that are crucial for success in many areas. The Mozart myth. Playing classical music to babies doesn't make them smarter. Sorry to burst that bubble. While exposing kids to music is definitely beneficial, there's no evidence that Mozart holds any special brain-boosting powers. Choosing the best name. This might sound silly, but names can actually influence how people perceive us. Studies have shown that people with more common names are often perceived as more likable and competent. Of course, this doesn't mean you should name your kid John or Jane if you don't want to, but it's something to keep in mind. Parenting is a complex and ever-evolving journey, but these science-backed insights can help you raise happy, resilient, and successful kids. Chapter 10 Personality. You know how everyone is always trying to figure out people's personalities? Like, analyzing their handwriting or star signs or whatever. Well, get ready to ditch all that because psychologists have cracked the code. It turns out there are just 5 main dimensions that make up our personalities. They call it the Big Five, and it's pretty mind-blowing. Exploding head. These researchers were like, okay, let's forget all the mystical mumbo-jumbo and look at what people actually say about themselves and others. They went through dictionaries and compiled thousands of words that describe personality traits. Then, they crunched all that data and, boom. The Big Five emerged. Openness. This is all about how curious and imaginative you are. High scorers are adventurous, love trying new things, and are open to new ideas. Low scorers are more practical, down-to-earth, and prefer routine. Conscientiousness. Think of this as your inner control freak, or lack thereof. High scorers are organized, responsible, and disciplined. Low scorers are more laid-back, spontaneous, and might struggle with deadlines. Extroversion. This one is all about how you get your energy. High scorers are outgoing, sociable, and get a buzz from being around people. Low scorers are more introverted, enjoy solitude, and find large gatherings draining. Agreeableness. This measures how much you care about others and how easy you are to get along with. High scorers are kind, compassionate, and cooperative. Low scorers are more assertive, competitive, and might come across as a bit ruthless. Neuroticism. this is your emotional roller coaster factor. High scorers are more prone to anxiety, worry, and negative emotions. Low scorers are more emotionally stable, resilient, and tend to take things in stride. It's fascinating because these 5 dimensions seem to capture the essence of who we are and how we behave. They influence our relationships, our work performance, our leisure activities, pretty much everything. It's like having a secret map to understanding ourselves and others. Now, the source material doesn't dive deep into why we develop certain personality traits, but it mentions a couple of interesting theories. Brain chemistry. Some researchers believe that our levels of extroversion are linked to our baseline levels of arousal. Introverts have higher baseline arousal, so they're more easily overstimulated and seek out quiet, predictable environments. Extroverts, on the other hand, need more stimulation to feel energized and thrive in social, exciting situations. Birth order. This theory suggests that our position in the family can shape our personality. Younger siblings, always vying for attention, tend to be more open, creative, and rebellious, while older siblings, often taking on a more responsible role, are more conscientious and traditional. So, the next time you're trying to figure someone out, ditch the handwriting analysis and think about the big 5. Where do they fall on each dimension? Are they open to new experiences or more set in their ways? Are they social butterflies or quiet observers? Understanding the big 5 can give you amazing insights into yourself and the people around you. Chapter 11 Conclusion. Remember Sophie from earlier, my friend who was skeptical about all those self-help books promising happiness and success? Well, after diving into a ton of scientific research, I found some really cool, science-backed techniques that can actually make a difference in less than a minute. I'm talking about small changes with big impact. Let's break it down. Think about how you'd like to be remembered. Imagine your best friend giving your eulogy. What would you want them to say about your life? This little exercise helps you clarify your goals and values, and it can be a powerful motivator to start living a life that aligns with your ideal self. Write a gratitude letter. Take a moment to appreciate someone awesome in your life. Expressing gratitude not only makes them feel good but also boosts your own happiness. Savor a happy memory. Remember that amazing vacation or that time you aced a presentation. Reliving those happy moments can instantly lift your mood and bring back those positive feelings. Use mental imagery to tackle challenges. Instead of just daydreaming about success, visualize yourself overcoming obstacles. Break down your goals into smaller steps and imagine yourself taking action. This technique can help you feel more prepared and motivated to achieve those goals. Give a small, unexpected gift. Want to make someone's day and boost your own likability? Surprise them with a small, thoughtful gesture, like a cup of coffee or a funny meme. People naturally want to reciprocate kindness, and these small acts can create a ripple effect of positivity. Ask for a small favor. This one might seem counterintuitive, but asking someone for a small favor can actually make them like you more. It's called the Franklin effect, and it works because people feel good about helping others. Plus, it subtly suggests that you trust and value their help. Don't be afraid to make the occasional mistake. We all mess up sometimes, and showing a bit of vulnerability can actually make you more relatable and likable. It's called the pratfall effect, and it works best when you're generally seen as competent. It takes the pressure off and makes you appear more human. Beware of gossip. Whatever traits you gossip about, whether good or bad, can unconsciously become associated with your own personality. So, if you want to be seen as positive and likable, stick to spreading good vibes. Simplify your language. Want to sound smarter? Ditch the thesaurus and use clear, concise language. Research suggests that using overly complex language can actually make you appear less intelligent. Focus on effort, not ability when praising kids. Instead of telling kids they're smart, praise their hard work and perseverance. This encourages a growth mindset and helps them embrace challenges. So there you have it, Sophie, 10 science-backed techniques that can help you live a happier, more successful, and more fulfilling life, all in under a minute. Who needs those long, drawn-out self-help programs when you can make a difference in just 59 seconds? I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and please remember to subscribe to receive notification of upcoming recordings. See you in next video.